Chapter 42 Auctioning the Soul Bone to Earn the First Pot of Gold. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Walk into the auction hall. Xue Qinghe followed the young lady to the door of a room next to the auction hall. The word appraisal was marked above the door of this room. The girl knocked on the door. Come in. The door opened. In the room, a man in black clothes was standing in front of the table, busy appraising some items. The girl said to the man who was appraising the items, Mr. Appraiser, this little girl brought something to auction, please appraise it. The appraiser raised his head and saw that it was a young girl. He thought, what valuable things can this little girl auction? He reminded her with a funny tone, little sister, the things we auction here must be valuable. If they are not valuable, we will not accept them. Xue Qinghe ignored the appraiser's funny words. She walked straight in and waved her hand at the table. A soul bone with a faint green light appeared on the table. The strong aura displayed by the soul bone instantly surprised the appraiser and the girl. Especially the appraiser, he never expected that this young girl actually had a 10,000-year soul bone. If the appraiser knew that Xue Qinghe not only had this 10,000-year soul bone, she also had a 100,000-year soul bone, and there was another 100,000-year soul bone in the system space, he would probably be shocked and speechless. The appraiser looked at the little girl in disbelief. Little sister, how did you get this soul bone? Xue Qinghe sat on the sofa and said, I didn't steal or rob, I got it legitimately. That's not what I meant. The appraiser knew that he had said the wrong thing, and immediately greeted him with a smile. Xue Qinghe asked, can this soul bone be auctioned? Yes, yes. The appraiser's attitude immediately changed, and he smiled and said, soul bones are rare things, even the most ordinary ones are very valuable. Dear guest, can you tell me about this soul bone? That the appraiser didn't dare to call her little sister anymore, and respectfully called her a VIP. After all, the person who can get a 10,000-year soul bone must be very powerful. How dare he offend him? Xue Qinghe looked at the soul bone on the table and introduced, this is a 30,000-year-old bloodthirsty hurricane right leg bone. The soul bone skill is frenzy, which can allow the user to enter a frenzy state in an instant, and the attack, defense, and speed are increased to 100%. 100%. The appraiser's eyes widened when he heard this. Xue Qinghe frowned and continued, but everything has two sides, there are good and bad. When using this soul bone skill, you can't use other skills temporarily, and your mental will be out of your control. The appraiser thought for a while and asked, is there any solution? That because this soul bone is to be auctioned, all the conditions of the soul bone must be understood clearly so that they can be told to the bidders during the auction. Xue Qinghe also knows the rules of the auction, so she will tell the pros and cons, and this solution is even more important. She nodded and said, yes. The solution is to absorb a piece of head soul bone that improves spiritual power, and the problem of being out of control can be solved. The appraiser touched his chin. There are very few head soul bones of this spiritual type. Indeed. Xue Qinghe replied lightly. The appraiser immediately smiled and said, although this right leg bone has a little flaw, please rest assured, it will definitely not affect its auction. Xue Qinghe was not worried about the auction at all. After all, soul bones are scarce and are the most desired dream of soul masters. The appraiser continued, I am going to give it a starting price of 300,000 gold soul coins. What do you think? Xue Qinghe nodded, okay. According to her understanding, an ordinary soul bone is also worth 100,000 gold soul coins. After all, her piece has a little flaw, so a starting price of 300,000 is fine. Xue Qinghe said, please keep my information confidential. The appraiser smiled and said, please rest assured that the auction house will never disclose any information about the seller and bidder. Xue Qinghe stood up and said, I want to go to the auction site. At this time, the girl who had been waiting on the side said, no problem, I will take you to handle the formalities first, and then take you to the auction site. Xue Qinghe nodded and followed the girl to another room. Since the girl did not have a stored value card for the gold soul coin, the auction house directly opened a new account for her. An account associated with her new account stored value card was set up at the auction house. After the item is auctioned, the income after deducting the corresponding handling fee will be deposited into her new account. Xin Ya happily took the stored value card of the new account and sighed in her heart, this is my first pot of gold. When the money for this soul bone is in hand, and the debt owed to Qian Jun is repaid, she will officially live a salted fish life. She has decided that she only needs the 100,000-year soul bone rewarded by the God examination in the future, and the rest of the soul bones will be sold unless they are very good. Only with money can you live happily as a salted fish. Thinking of this, she remembered Tang San's fucking right leg bone. The little girl began to secretly think about that soul bone. After the formalities were completed, Xin Ya put on the mask and followed the young lady to the auction site. Entering the auction site, the auction has begun, and the host on the stage is introducing the auction items and guiding the bidders to bid. Xin Ya said to the young girl leading the way, I can just go around and see by myself, you don't have to take me. Okay, distinguished guest, please help yourself. After saying this, the girl turned and left the venue. Xin Ya did not find a seat to sit, but walked around. She was not interested in other bidding items. She just wanted to wait for the soul bone to bid. Not long after, a scantily clad waitress came onto the stage holding a tray covered with a red cloth cover. The host lifted the red cloth cover, and the soul bone instantly glowed with light cyan light. The eyes of the bidders at the scene shone with light. Then the host excitedly began to introduce the situation of soul bones. At this time, Xin Ya heard a girl's voice coming from the same direction as where she was standing. Dad, that soul bone looks very powerful, I want it. That she looked in the direction of the sound and saw 3 people she knew, but they didn't recognize her. That was Ning Fengji, the leader of the Qibao glazed sect, and his daughter Ning Rongrong. There is also Sword Douluo Continent, who has the temperament of an outsider. Xin Ya heard that Ning Rongrong wanted that soul bone, but she felt that the eldest daughter of the Ning family couldn't control it. So, out of good intentions, she walked up to the 3 of them and said, although the soul bone's madness skill is powerful, not everyone can control it. I suggest you not to buy it. Ning Rongrong turned to look at Xin Ya and asked, who are you? What does that soul bone have to do with you? Please give me a vote, please give me a vote. Chapter 43 Who is not a baby? You are listening at novelfull.audio. Hearing Ning Rongrong's unkind words, Xin Ya looked at her. Oh, she is indeed a little witch. Xin Ya felt that she had kindly reminded her, and it was Ning Rongrong's own business to listen or not. If she hadn't sold this soul bone, Xin Ya wouldn't have even warned the user if she had any problems. However, the little witch is protected by 2 Douluo level figures, so nothing should happen to her. At this time, when Ning Fengji heard his daughter speaking so rudely, he immediately yelled in a low voice, Rongrong, don't be rude. Ning Rongrong pursed her lips, looking unhappy, and did not dare to speak for the time being. Xin Ya turned around and wanted to leave. Ning Fengji hurriedly shouted to her, little girl, please stay. Xin Ya turned around and asked, Uncle, what can I do? Ning Fengji took a step forward and introduced herself, hello, little girl. My name is Ning Fengji, this is my little daughter Ning Rongrong, and that is my good friend Chen Xian. My little girl was rude just now and spoke a little too hastily. As a father, I failed to teach her well. I apologize to you on her behalf. Please forgive me. Xin Ya felt that since her father had personally apologized and she was not a stingy person, she should forgive her. She smiled slightly, revealing 2 cute little dimples, and said, hello, Uncle Ning, my name is Xin Ya. All the students are gentle and elegant. Ning Fengji nodded and praised, it's a good name. Xin Ya was stunned for a moment. Many students, gentle and elegant. These 2 sentences reminded her of her father telling her the origin of the name when he was still alive. Her father wanted her to be as diligent as a studious child when studying, and girls should be gentle and elegant, so he gave her this name. Ning Fengji saw her in a daze and asked, am I wrong? Xin Ya came back to her senses, shook her head and smiled, yes, my father explained it to me that way back then. Ning Fengji saw that she looked slightly melancholy and asked out of concern, Your Majesty. Xin Ya lowered her head and nodded slightly, my father passed away when I was very young. Ning Fengji said softly, I'm sorry. It's okay, get used to it, time will dilute it. After feeling long for her father, Xin Ya raised her eyes and returned to her usual lively self. She smiled and said, since uncle has just apologized, then I also know what is good and what is good, so please forgive your daughter. Ning Rongrong immediately put her hands on her waist and said displeasedly, who wants your forgiveness, yo ho. She still had to fight with the eldest lady of the Ning family. Here in Douluo Continent, she is now about the same age as Ning Rongrong, so who is not a baby yet, Xin Ya will never tolerate this young lady. Just let her, the overtime maniac of Aqua Blue Star, give this little witch a social beating. Xin Ya raised her eyebrows and looked at Ning Rongrong. I don't forgive you, so what does it have to do with you? What I forgive is your father's apology to me, but I don't forgive your subjective consciousness. Ning Rongrong frowned. Subjective consciousness, what is it? Xin Ya explained, subjective consciousness means that you think you are great, don't care about other people's feelings, and don't listen to other people's opinions. You. Ning Rongrong said angrily, how dare you say that to me? Do you know who I am? Xin Ya raised her eyebrows slightly. I know, the eldest lady of the Qibao glazed sect. I knew it just now when your father said his name was Ning Fengji. But what about the eldest lady of the Qibao glazed sect? Without the Qibao glazed sect, your status as the eldest lady is nothing. It can only be said that you will be reincarnated and cast into the identity of the eldest lady of the Qibao glazed sect. It is your sect that adds good attributes to you, not how great you are. Ning Fengji and Chen Xian looked at her. When Ning Fengji heard the little girl's words, instead of being angry, he felt a hint of appreciation. Chen Xian didn't have much of an expression, he didn't know what he was thinking. You. Ning Rongrong almost cried when Xian Ya said that. She had never been said like this since she was a child. In the sect, her brothers all gave way to her, and the servants even gave way to her. Why did she meet someone today who couldn't let her go? Ning Rongrong sniffed and said, why are you like this? Can't you just let me go? Xian Ya said speechlessly, I'm about the same age as you, and I'm not from your sect, so why should I let you do it? Also, how old are you? You have to apologize to your father. What do you do with that mouth? It's just for eating. Are you a loser? Woo. Ning Rongrong had never met someone so capable of attacking others. The eldest lady of the Ning family couldn't bear it and instantly broke her guard. She turned around and threw herself into Chen Xian's arms behind her. She sobbed and said, Grandpa Jian, this girl is so fierce, please help me beat her. Ning Fengji had absolutely nothing to do with his pampered daughter. He was about to apologize to the little girl in front of him again on his daughter's behalf. Xian Ya interrupted directly, Sect Master Ning, you have already apologized for her once. She should apologize again by herself. It will not do her any good if you coddle her like this. While Chen Xian was comforting Ning Rongrong, whom he regarded as his own granddaughter, Chen Xian stared at Xian Ya with slightly narrowed eyes. Xin Ya felt his gaze and simply broke the pot and said, Senior Sword Douluo, although you are a strong Douluo level, but if you must protect your shortcomings and help your eldest daughter beat me, then I am not afraid. Although I can't beat him, it doesn't mean that I will surrender. The worst I can do is die. The little girl felt that it was not like she had never died before. She had died suddenly once in her last life, so there was nothing to fear. After saying that, she turned and left without hesitation. Ning Fengji looked at the little girl's back and said with a smile, what an interesting little girl. Chen Xian also nodded and said, you have courage, and courage, not bad. Ning Rongrong raised her head and said dissatisfiedly, Dad, Grandpa Jian, why are you all praising her? Don't you love Rongrong? Chen Xian sighed and touched Ning Rongrong's head, of course it hurts. You will always be our little princess. Other side, after Xian Ya walked away, she stood in the corner of the auction venue. Only then did she notice that the price of the soul bone she had put up for auction had reached 800,000 gold soul coins. The little girl's eyes suddenly brightened. She originally expected that it would be about 500,000, but she didn't expect that it would rise to 800,000 at this time. The host on the stage shouted excitedly, VIP number 577 bids 800,000 yuan, is there anything higher? After waiting for a while, no one raised the sign again. The host started shouting, 800,000 for the first time, 800,000 for the second time, 800,000 for the third time, deal done. Yeah. Xin Ya, who was standing in the corner, was instantly excited. Chapter 44 I Have to Run Away. You are listening at novelfull.audio. 800,000, minus the 10% commission and handling fee charged by the auction house, that is. The little girl looked up at the ceiling and began to count with her little fingers. She was a math idiot since she was a child, and she was better at Chinese and English, but after coming to Douluo Continent, Xue Qinghe found that she always had to do arithmetic. Every time this happened, she really wanted to have a calculator. The little girl decided to wait until she had more points and then go to the Systems Points Mall to exchange for a calculator. Mental arithmetic, oral arithmetic, etc., are too tiring. This 10% commission is 80,000, 800,000 minus 80,000, then the actual amount is 720,000. Oh my god! 720,000 gold soul coins, if converted into the Mao Zedong of Shuilin Star, is 7.2 million Mao Zedong. At this moment, she instantly became a millionaire. Just when Xue Qinghe was thinking about millionaires, a group of people in soldier armor suddenly rushed in from the door of the auction hall. There were about 30 people. Then, a young man in noble clothes walked in. At this time, Xue Qinghe, who was standing in the corner, saw the person coming and frowned. Xue Qinghe, the crown prince of Tiando Empire. Why is he here, and why is he bringing so many people with him? Suddenly, the little girl was startled and remembered that Xue Qinghe was the young master of the spirit hall, Qianrenxue, in disguise. Could it be, did Guangling ask Qianrenxue to find her? As soon as she finished thinking, Xue Qinghe denied it again. She is a young master of the spirit hall. How big is her face to let the young master come to find her in person? After thinking about it, she felt something was wrong. Suddenly, she remembered entering Tiando City before. When she was at the gate of the city, the guards guarding the city were checking, and now thinking about it, it feels like they are looking for someone. Could it be, that Guangling really asked their young master to come to find her? Suddenly, the little girl took a breath of cold air. No. This lady has to run away. Xue Qinghe looked around. Fortunately, she was standing in a corner, and many people in front of her blocked her small body. The little girl immediately took advantage of the crowd and walked to the other side, and then quickly ran towards the high-level VIP passage of the auction hall. Just after Xue Qinghe slipped away, the person in charge of the auction site walked toward Xue Qinghe and greeted him with a smile. He nodded slightly and said respectfully, "I have met His Royal Highness the Crown Prince. I wonder why His Royal Highness is here." That this auction house in the Tiando Empire is nominally private, but in fact the owner behind it is the Tiando royal family. Otherwise, how could such a large auction house occupy such a large area in the capital Tiando city where every inch of land is valuable? And the income from this auction house is also one of the economic sources of the Tiando royal family. Wuhuan Hall has always wanted to get a piece of the pie. But the Tiando royal family has a deep foundation, and the auction house is built in Tiando city, so Wuhuan Hall cannot reach in for the time being. Qianrenshue's undercover plan was not only to steal the Tiando Empire, but also to disintegrate the economic lifeline of the Tiando Empire and put it all into the pocket of their Wuhuan Hall. So during the 20 years of undercover work, she disguised herself as the Prince Xue Qinghe and slowly infiltrated the economic field of the Tiando Empire. Xue Qinghe looked at the person in charge of the auction site and said, "This prince is here to find someone, a little girl named Xue Qinghe." Just as he finished speaking, someone not far away shouted at him, "Qinghe." He turned his head to look in the direction of the voice and saw Ning Fengji and the other two. Xue Qinghe walked over with a smile and nodded slightly to Ning Fengji and Chen Xian. "Teacher, Senior Jian Douluo, are you here to buy something?" Chen Xian nodded at him. Ning Fengji smiled and said, "Yes, Rong was clamoring to come out, so I took her to Tiando City to have a look, and by the way, I came to the auction house to see if there were any suitable items." Ning Rong walked over happily, took Xue Qinghe's arm and said, "Brother Prince, you just said that the person you are looking for is called Xue Qinghe, right? Before you came, we met a girl, also called Xue Qinghe." Xue Qinghe's eyes lit up. He immediately took out a portrait from the storage soul guide. "Does the little girl you met look like this?" Ning Rong read the portrait and nodded immediately and said, "That's her." She's so fierce and scolded me. Brother Crown Prince, did she offend you? Hurry up and catch her. Xue Qinghe shook his head. She didn't offend me, my friend, she's gone missing, I'm just anxious to find her. Ning Fengji said, she just left half an hour before you came, and now I don't know where she went. The person in charge of the auction immediately walked over and said, Your Highness, the people who came in are either sellers or bidders. I'll check the list later and I'll know. Ning Fengji also echoed, Yes, let them check, let's go to the reception room to talk first. Xue Qinghe nodded. The person in charge of the auction led the 4 people to the reception room next to the hall, and 30 guards were stationed in the venue. At this time, the host in the audience said, This auction has ended. VIPs who didn't buy the items they wanted, please come back tonight at 8 o'clock. Thank you. Please leave in an orderly manner. Everyone in the venue stood up and left. On the other side, after Xin Ya slipped out of the high-level VIP channel, she looked behind her and found that no one noticed her. She breathed a sigh of relief. She thought, anyway, the soul bone has been auctioned successfully, and the auction house will automatically transfer the 720,000 gold soul coins to her new account. She can just go to the stored value bank to check it tomorrow, so she doesn't have to worry about running away now, which is just right, but she knew that Lanba Academy would definitely not be able to go, because they registered when they entered the city, and Lu Erlong and the others all belonged to Lanba. Xue Qinghe and Guangling must have just gone to Lanba Academy and asked Dean Erlong before finding the auction house. The little girl wants to leave Tiando City now. She can't stay here for the time being. Just as she walked out, she suddenly saw 2 luxurious carriages parked outside the gate of the auction house. Next to one of the carriages stood a man in a black cloak. Although Xin Ya couldn't see clearly the man's appearance, she could see silver shawl hair from under the brim of the cloak. Looking at that figure again, she was sure that she would never admit it wrong. That man was Guangling. Xin Ya felt her heart beat a little faster, but she was still angry with him, so she didn't want to see him at this time. The little girl thought that it was impossible to walk through the door carelessly now, and if she goes out of the city alone, the guards guarding the city will already know her and will definitely be stopped. The only way is to find someone to cover for you. At this time, she saw another luxury carriage parked not far away next to the prince's carriage. The word Ning was marked on the outside of the carriage. That was Ning Fengji's carriage. Yes. Ning Fengji will definitely leave Tiando City and return to Qibao City later, so he can follow his carriage out of the city. Just then, she saw the entourage driving the Ning family's carriage running away in a hurry, probably to relieve themselves. The little girl rolled her eyes, walked along the wall of the auction house building, sneaked to the Ning family's carriage, and quickly got on the carriage. Xin Ya planned to hide in the carriage first and wait for Ning Fengji and the others to come up. Chapter 45 Making Friends with Xue Qinghe Out of Nowhere. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Tiando Auction Hall, Reception Room. Xue Qinghe and Ning Fengji chatted for a long time. At this time, the person in charge of the auction house opened the door and came in and said, Your Highness, we have already checked. The distinguished guest you are looking for is here to auction things. Xue Qinghe asked, What is she auctioning? That the person in charge hesitated for a moment and said, Soul bones. Originally, the customer's information was not allowed to be leaked, but since this was the crown prince of the Tiando Empire, they could only tell him. Hearing the person in charge say that the little girl was auctioning soul bones, Ning Fengji asked, Is it the 10,000-year-old right leg bone that was auctioned for 800,000 yuan just now? That the person in charge nodded. Ning Fengji and Chen Xian were slightly surprised. No wonder when Rongrong said he wanted that soul bone, that little girl would come over and remind him, because she knew what the problem was with the soul bone. But how could she, a young girl, have a 10,000-year-old soul bone? Did she get it from hunting the soul beast herself? After saying this, Ning Fengji looked at Xue Qinghe. Xue Qinghe thought for a while and said, It seems that her friends helped hunt her. Xian Renxue heard it mentioned by Wu Zhangfang that he had obtained the soul bone by helping Xin Ya hunt the soul beast, so she said they were friends. He then asked the person in charge, Then where is she now? Have you given her the soul coins obtained from the soul bone auction? The person in charge respectfully replied, We have deducted the handling fee and transferred the soul coins obtained from the auction directly to the new account of the distinguished guest. As for where the person went, we don't know, but after asking around, a waiter said that he saw the VIP leaving from the high-level VIP channel. Xue Qinghe stood up suddenly. When did you leave? The waiter said that you saw her leaving shortly after your highness arrived at the auction hall, the person in charge said. Ning Fengji also stood up and said, since he left just now, he must still be in Tiando City now. You can ask the patrolling guards in the city to keep an eye on her. She should be found soon. Xue Qinghe turned his head and said to the captain of the Imperial Guard who was standing aside, go and explain to the patrol guards who are responsible for finding someone. Yes. The captain of the guards was ordered to leave. Ning Fengji saw Xue Qinghe looking a little anxious, and asked with a smile, are you nervous about that little girl? Is she the one you like? Xue Qinghe shook his head and said, we are friends. I just heard that she wanted to buy soul bones and wondered if she had no soul coins to spend, so I was worried. Ning Rongrong hummed, brother prince, don't worry. Her soul bone was sold for 800,000 yuan, and after deducting the handling fee, she still has more than 700,000 yuan. It's enough for her to spend a while, and she won't starve to death. Xue Qinghe smiled and said nothing. In fact, Qianrenxue was mainly afraid that Wu Zongfeng would cause some trouble because he was worried about the little girl, then it will be troublesome for her to be responsible for cleaning up the mess. Ning Fengji said to Xue Qinghe, Qinghe, if nothing happens, we will go back to Qibao City first. Teacher, why don't you stay in the palace for a few days? Xue Qinghe said. Ning Fengji smiled and said, no, there are matters to be dealt with in the sect. I will enter the palace alone another day. Good. Xue Qinghe stepped forward and helped Ning Fengji leave the reception room. Ning Rongrong and Chen Xian left together. The four people walked out of the auction house. Xue Qinghe escorted Ning Fengji and the others to the Ning family's carriage, said goodbye to them one by one, then turned and walked towards his own carriage. When Guangling came out from Ning Fengji and the others, he immediately sat back on the carriage. Seeing Qianrenxue walking into the carriage, he immediately asked anxiously, young master, how are you? Has that little thing come to the auction house? 2 hours ago, the two of them took the Imperial Guard to Lanba Academy. Lu Erlong said that Xin Ya got off the car near the auction house and saw that she seemed to be walking towards the auction house. At that time, Guangling guessed that the little thing had no soul coins on him and would go to the auction house to sell the Wolf Thief King's soul bone, so they came to take a look. When Xue Qinghe saw Wu Zongfang asking so anxiously, he smiled and said, it's exactly as you expected. She came to the auction house and sold the soul bone you mentioned. She sold it for 800,000 yuan. After deducting the handling fee, she got about 700,000 yuan. But she left just as I arrived. But don't worry, I have already asked the patrol guards in the city to look for someone. As long as she is still in the city, she should be found soon. Guangling nodded. Qianrenxue asked, you said she sold that soul bone for living expenses, but after all, it is a 10,000-year soul bone. Soul bones have always been scarce. Isn't it a pity for her to sell it? Guangling shook his head and said, it is a pity for us to sell the 10,000-year soul bone, but it may not be so for that little thing. When she was passing through Hell Road in the Killing City, she took out 100,000-year-old soul bone. With 100,000-year-old soul bone, the 10,000-year-old soul bone is nothing to her. In her mind, she might as well spend it in soul coins. 100,000 years. Xue Qinghe opened his eyes wide. Where did she get 100,000-year soul bone? I don't believe she can hunt 100,000-year soul beast by herself. And except for a strong man at the Douluo level, who can help her hunt it down? But the Douluo level experts are basically all in our spirit hall. There are only Du Gubo, Chen Xian and Gu Rong in the Tiando Empire. I met Ning Fengji and Chen Xian at the auction house just now. They also met Xin Ya, but from their words, it was obvious that they had just met. It is impossible to help her hunt. Could it be Du Gubo? Guangling shook his head and smiled helplessly. I still can't figure this out. When I asked her at the time, she only said that it was legitimate income and that she had not stolen or robbed. After Qianrenxue heard Guangling's words, she became even more curious about Xin Ya. On the other side, next to the Ning family's carriage. After Xin Ya saw the prince's carriage leaving, she immediately got out of the Ning family's carriage. Ning Fengji, the three of them and the entourage who drove the carriage were all startled when they saw her, especially the entourage driving the carriage. He had been guarding here just now, but he had no idea that there was a little girl hiding in the carriage. At this time, Ning Rongrong looked at Xin Ya with wide eyes. She immediately turned around and shouted to the prince's carriage as it drove away, "Brother Prince, Xin Ya quickly stepped forward and covered her mouth. "Don't shout." Ning Fengji and Chen Xian looked at each other. Ning Fengji asked Xiang Xin Ya, "Little girl, why are you in our carriage? And you and the prince are friends, right? Do you know he is looking for you, friend?" Xian was stunned for a moment. When did she become friends with Xue Qinghe out of nowhere? She knew that Ning Fengji was Xue Qinghe's teacher. Did Xue Qinghe himself say that she was his friend in the auction house just now? The little girl thought that since Xue Qinghe had already arranged a relationship for her, she should just go with the flow. When Xin Ya saw that the prince's carriage was gone, she let go of Ning Rongrong. He nodded and said to Ning Fengji, "I hid in your carriage just because I knew he was looking for me. Sect Master Ning, can you send me out of the city?" Chapter 46. In order to cover up a lie, you have to tell another lie. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Ning Fengji did not immediately answer whether he would send her out of the city or not, but asked, "Why are you hiding? I see that the prince is looking for you very anxiously. He seems to be very worried about you." Xian bit her lip. Why hide? How can she explain this? She and Xue Qinghe are not familiar with each other at all. She is just more familiar with Guangling. However, she can't tell them that the person she is hiding from is actually the 5 worshippers of the Spirit Hall, not the Prince Xue Qinghe. But if there is no good reason, she estimates that Ning Fengji will not take her out of the city. It is even possible that he will personally send her to Xue Qinghe. After thinking about it, Xian can only transfer the grievances between herself and Guangling to Xue Qinghe, and first trick Ning Fengji into sending her out of the city. It's time to show her acting skills. The little girl took a deep breath, lowered her head and said, "The prince always bullies me, I don't want to see him. Uncle Ning, please, the guards of your Qibao Liuli sect will definitely not check the carriage strictly, take me out of the city, okay?" Ning Fengji said unconvincedly, "The prince is approachable and calm, how could he bully a little girl like you?" Xian's mind was working quickly. "It's not bullying, it's just, he made me angry, I don't want to see him." Ning Fengji advised, "If there is any misunderstanding, wouldn't it be better to meet and talk it out and resolve the misunderstanding?" "No. I don't want to talk to him." At that moment, Xian subconsciously completely took in her emotions towards Guangling. She didn't even notice it herself. Suddenly, she squatted on the ground, drawing circles on the ground with her fingers, and said in a wronged voice, "If Uncle Ning is unwilling to help me, then I will find a way to leave the city myself. But if Uncle Ning intends to bring me to the prince, then I will definitely resist, unless you tie me up." The little girl thought to herself, "You are the leader of a large sect, and a peak Douluo persona of a hermit, I don't believe you can do something like kidnapping people." Looking at Xian squatting on the ground, looking aggrieved and stubborn, Ning Fengji and Chen Xian looked at each other, and Ning Rongrong, who was standing aside, although she was a little spoiled in her usual personality, she was kind after all. At this time, seeing the little girl of the same age being wronged, she felt a little bit sorry. Ning Fengji felt that this little girl was a friend of the prince. Since she asked for help from him, it would definitely not work if she was left here, but looking at the little girl's stubborn look, she couldn't really tie her up and take her to the palace to see the prince. He couldn't do such a thing as tying up a little girl. Ning Fengji silently looked at Chen Xian beside him. Chen Xian was stunned for a moment. He signaled with his eyes, "Fengji, don't look at me, tie her up yourself." "How could I, a hermit, tie up a little girl of 12 or 13 years old?" Ning Fengji smiled helplessly. Since he couldn't tie her up, he could only take her away first, and then write a letter to the prince to let him come to pick her up. Ning Fengji walked in front of Xian, leaned over slightly, and said softly, "Okay, since you don't want to see, we naturally won't force you, get up quickly, aren't your feet numb after squatting for so long?" Xian stood up silently, "Thank you Uncle Ning." Ning Fengji smiled and asked, "Do you want to go to our Qibao Liuli sect to play?" Does this mean that he is willing to take her out of the city? Xin Ya's eyes lit up instantly, and she nodded happily immediately. Ning Fengji said, "Okay, let's get in the car." Ning Rongrong didn't really want Xin Ya to go to their sect, but since her father had spoken, she couldn't say anything. The four of them got on the carriage, the attendant whipped the horse whip, and the carriage drove towards the city gate. 20 minutes later, the carriage arrived near the city gate and was waiting to leave the city. At this time, Xin Ya began to get a little nervous, although she felt that the guards guarding the city would not necessarily check the Ning family's carriage, but after all, the prince is helping Guangling to find her everywhere. So what if? What if he orders to check? She can't run away. After waiting for 10 minutes of torture, it was finally the Ning family's carriage's turn to arrive at the city gate. Xin Ya's heartbeat began to speed up. And the guards guarding the city outside the car saw that it was the Ning family's carriage, so they raised their hands and signaled to let it go. At this time, the nervous little girl in the car was relieved when she heard the guards guarding the city let it go. Ning Fengji, who was sitting in the middle of the carriage with his crutches in both hands, was very curious after seeing Xin Ya's reaction. What did Qinghe do to this little girl to make her so angry and unwilling to see the prince? The carriage drove out of Tiando City smoothly. Ning Fengji asked Xin Ya, "Xiao Ya, can uncle ask you 2 questions? Xin Ya nodded. Ask. How did you get that piece of 10,000-year soul bone? My friend helped me hunt it." The little girl thought that Guangling helped her kill the wolf bandit. That's right, this answer is so reasonable. Ning Fengji asked again, "How did you know the prince?" "I have been his teacher for more than 10 years. He is in the palace most of the time. I have never seen him have any friends, and I have never seen you." Oh my god. Xin Ya thought, how should I answer this? It seems that I can only continue to make up stories. Sorry, Xue Qinghe. Oh no, it should be Qianren Xue. I can only make up a relationship drama for you and me. How about I give you the persona of a domineering president? Sure enough, in order to fulfill a lie, you have to continue to tell the next lie. It's time to show off your acting skills again. While the other 3 people in the car were waiting for Xin Ya's answer, they saw the little girl looking up into the distance through the car window. Xin Ya began to talk. "I was born in a very poor village. My mother died in childbirth when I was born, and my father later fell ill and passed away. When I grew up, I left the village to travel, but because of poverty, there is often a meal but no meal. Last month I traveled to the towns near Tiando City. I was so hungry that day that I fainted from hunger on the way to Tiando City. I happened to be saved by His Highness the Crown Prince who was passing by. But because the palace is strict and my whereabouts are unknown, the prince arranged for me to live in a house outside the palace. He would come out of the palace to see me every few days and take me out to play. But one day I met a friend, the one who helped me hunt for soul bones. Then the prince was very angry when he found out about it, and asked someone to watch me and not allow me to go out to see that friend. Then I also got angry, and while he was watching the man who was following me ran out unexpectedly. After I ran out, I had no soul coins with me, and I wanted to leave Tiando City, so I had no choice but to go to the auction house and sell my soul bones. Who knew the prince would chase me to the auction house, so I had no choice but to run away. After Xin Ya finished speaking, she felt that the scene she had written was pretty good. How wonderful that the possessive and overbearing prince, the crown prince, imprisoned the common girl Cinderella out of jealousy. As for whether Ning Fengji and the others believed it or not, she didn't care. Chapter 47. It must be that little thing cursing me. You are listening at novelfull.audio. After listening to the little girl's story, Ning Fengji and the other 2 looked at each other. Do you believe it? They didn't completely believe it, because it felt like what Xin Ya said was a little different from what they knew about the prince's character and way of doing things. Don't believe it. The 3 of them felt that there was no need for Xin Ya to lie to them. After all, Xue Qinghe himself said that she and the prince were friends. If the little girl just said it unilaterally, they would definitely not believe it. Ning Fengji sighed inwardly. He felt that the prince was young and acted a little impulsively. Let the little girl play for 2 or 3 days first. When her mood is gone, he will write to the prince to inform him. it would be better for the two of them to meet and resolve the misunderstanding. Ning Fengji said to Xue Ya, Xue Ya, my uncle is someone who has been here before. It is inappropriate for the prince to find someone to watch you, but he only cares about you. But since you are still angry now, just have fun for a few days and wait until the anger subsides before you decide whether to meet or not. If you still don't want to see the prince then, where do you want to go? Uncle will ask someone to take you there, okay? Okay, listen to Uncle Ning. Xin Ya planned to agree first and then find a way to leave. She knew that Ning Fengji was Xue Qinghe's teacher and would definitely send a letter to Xue Qinghe telling her about her stay at the Qibao Glazed sect, so she would not stay there for a long time. After thinking about it, the little girl complained a little bit about Guangling. It was all this Tsundera's fault, so couldn't she let her go? He insisted on chasing her, making her hide here and there, and even bully others when she couldn't see him. That man was so annoying. The little girl drew circles in her heart and cursed Guangling. Tiando Palace, Prince's Palace, in the study room. Ah sneeze, ah sneeze. Xue Qinghe saw Guangling sneezing several times while sitting on the sofa. She asked with concern, Wu Hongfang, if you feel uncomfortable, please go back to the hotel and rest first. I will inform you of any news about Xin Ya. Guangling sniffed, I'm not feeling uncomfortable, it must be that little thing cursing me. Xue Qinghe couldn't help laughing. Why did you bully this little girl? She made her avoid you. I heard from Grandpa that you tricked her into writing a contract of sale and asked her to be your little maid. Is it true? Guangling took a deep breath. The contract of sale is indeed written, but I didn't really let her be a maid. Instead, I made her an eldest lady, and the stewards and servants were all assigned to her. Isn't that okay? Xue Qinghe said, but Grandpa's letter said that you later let people keep an eye on the little girl at any time, so that she had no freedom. Guangling raised her eyes and looked at her young master. So you mean, she is leaving because of this? Xue Qinghe sighed and said bluntly, 5 worshippers, I can see that you like Xin Ya very much, but if you don't change your attitude and the way you do things, you will never be able to chase a girl, and you will only push further. And further. Look, she has run away now and is even avoiding you. I am also a woman. I know Xin Ya's thoughts very well. After listening to his young master's words, Guangling fell into deep thought. Qian Renxue knew that he had listened, but it was up to him to figure out whether he could figure it out and what to do next. Xue Qinghe left the study silently and did not disturb him again. Inside Qibao City, in the evening, the Ning family carriage finally returned to Qibao City. The carriage drove along the bustling street towards the Qibao Glazed sect. The little girl looked out of the car window curiously. Although Qibao City is not as big as Tiando City, it is more prosperous than Tiando City. This is also due to the fact that the Qibao Glazed sect is well governed here. Pedestrians on the road not only gave way when they saw the Ning family's carriage, but even showed respect in their eyes. Xue Ya thought, this Qibao Glazed sect has a high prestige in Qibao City. The carriage quickly arrived at the gate of Qibao Glazed sect. The 2 gatekeepers in front of the door saw that their sect leader's carriage was coming back and immediately came to greet it. The 4 people in the car got out of the car. Ning Fengji and Chen Xian were walking into the sect, with Xue Ya and Ning Rongrong following behind them. At this time, Ning Rongrong's eldest lady habit occurred again. She said to Xin Ya, this is my home. You have to listen to me, do you understand? Xue Ya glanced at the eldest lady and thought to herself, I am so crazy if I know. She ignored the little witch and continued walking forward. When Ning Rongrong saw that Xin Ya didn't answer her, she asked, hey, did you hear that? Xin Ya rolled her eyes. She stopped and said to Ning Rongrong, although this is your home, Uncle Ning is the sect leader. If you want me to listen to you, let me wait until you become the sect leader and win a fight. Beat you? Ning Rongrong frowned, are you also a soul master? Xin Ya was speechless, I said it before, didn't I? Ning Rongrong raised her eyebrows slightly and said, which soul master would sell a 10,000-year-old soul bone? Unless he already has 6 soul bones, he must have absorbed it himself. Just because of your behavior, I thought you were not a soul master. This suspicion is reasonable. Xin Ya thought about it and realized that it was indeed quite reasonable. if it weren't for the 100,000-year-old soul bone awarded by the divine examination, how could she have sold the other soul bones? At this time, Ning Fengji and Chen Xian, who were walking in front, heard the conversation between the two little girls behind them. Ning Fengji turned around and asked Xian, "Xiaoya, what is your martial soul? What is your soul power level?" Xian took a few steps back and called out her martial soul. In an instant, an extremely ordinary sword appeared in front of the little girl. Ning Rongrong saw Xian's sword and laughed, "Your sword is too ordinary." She stopped talking before she finished, because the little witch saw the 3 10,000-year soul rings rising from Xian's feet. Ning Rongrong suddenly opened her eyes wide and was so shocked that she couldn't speak for a while. Ning Fengji and Chen Xian on the side were also surprised in their hearts, but they were relatively calm on the surface. Ning Fengji smiled and said, "I didn't expect you, a little girl, to have such a good talent." Chen Xian, who had been silent all the way, finally asked after seeing Xian's sword martial soul, "What kind of sword is this?" The little girl thought about it and still said, "Qingming sword." In addition to this name, she couldn't think of any better name. Anyway, the name of the Shura sword must not be mentioned, so we can only continue to use it. Qingming sword. Chen Xian frowned slightly. How could he not have heard of it? He looked at the sword in front of the little girl again. To be honest, this sword is really very ordinary, but Chen Xian knows that if it is really an ordinary sword martial spirit, it is impossible for this little girl to absorb 3 10,000-year spirit rings. Chen Xian and Ning Fengji looked at each other and understood, the little girl's martial spirit is definitely not as ordinary as it looks on the surface. Chapter 48 Miss Ning's heart has been broken. You are listening at novelfull.audio. At this time, Ning Rongrong looked at Xian's martial soul and said unconvincedly, "It's just an ordinary sword martial soul. Our 7 treasures glazed tower is the first auxiliary martial soul on the continent. And what's wrong with your 3 10,000-year soul rings? They are only in the 30s. I'm in the 27th level, and you are only a few levels higher than me." Ning Fengji frowned again and scolded, "Rongrong, don't be rude." Ning Rongrong stared at Xianya unwillingly. Xianya put away her martial soul and looked at the little witch lady who was staring at her. She raised her eyebrows. "Who said I'm in the 30s? My soul power level is 41, but I haven't obtained the 4th soul ring yet." "What? Impossible, I don't believe it." Ning Rongrong opened her eyes again. They are the same age, how could she be 41? The little witch lady looked at Chen Xian fiercely. "Grandpa Jian, she lied, right?" Chen Xian was also a little surprised when he heard 41, but after thinking about it, he felt that this was reasonable. Because just now when he saw Xianya had 3 10,000-year soul rings, but her soul power level was over 30, he felt that it was not right. Now he heard the little girl say that she was 41, that was right. Chen Xian reached out and touched Ning Rongrong's head, comforting her. "Rongrong, Xiaoya didn't lie to you. With 3 10,000-year soul rings, the soul power level can't be just a few levels higher than yours. 41 is reasonable." "Ah!" Ning Rongrong wailed, turned her head and looked at Ning Fengji. "Dad, is it true?" Ning Fengji nodded and said, "Your grandpa Jian is right. The 2 knowledgeable elders said so." Ning Rongrong snorted at Xianya, and then stopped talking, because at this time, Miss Ning's heart was broken. They are all the same age, she is 41, and she is only 27. Ning Rongrong can't help but be unconvinced. Chen Xian walked up to Xianya and said, "Little girl, you know my martial soul is the 7 killing sword, so I want to take you as my apprentice. What do you think?" Before the little girl could answer, a very hoarse voice like the wind blowing fallen leaves came. "Oh, old sword master wants to take a disciple, it's really rare." Xianya looked in the direction of the voice and saw a 2-meter-tall human skeleton walking towards them. "My ape Tarzan." Seeing Gu Rong, the little girl couldn't help but complain, "Is this the human skeleton model from the medical college of Blue Water Star that escaped to Douluo Continent? This Gu Rong looks too much like that skeleton model, except that it is a skeleton model wearing clothes. It is indeed a true bone Douluo." Gu Rong walked in front of Xianya. Because he was too tall, his body was bent at 90 degrees and he looked at the little girl, looking at the bones. Xin Ya's voice trembled slightly. Bone. Senior Bone Douluo, hello. Chen Xin, who was standing by, pulled him away and said, get out of the way, you old bones, don't scare my apprentice. I'll give you your apprentice back, but the girl hasn't agreed yet. Gu Rong said with a smile. Chen Xin looked at Xin Ya and asked, Xue Ya, are you willing to be my apprentice? Senior Sword Douluo, can I refuse? As soon as the girl finished speaking, Ning Fengji, Ning Rongrong and Gu Rong looked at her in disbelief at the same time. Chen Xin, a peak Douluo at level 96, also has the reputation of being the continent's #1 attack Douluo. How many people would love to have her, but this girl actually refused to be the apprentice of Sword Douluo Chen Xin. Ning Rongrong pointed at Xin Ya and cursed unhappily, you are too ungrateful. Rongrong. Chen Xin stopped Ning Rongrong from speaking. In fact, he was not annoyed when he heard Xin Ya's refusal. Instead, he asked, can I know the reason for your refusal? Xin Ya said bluntly, Senior Sword Douluo, I have no intention of insulting you at all. On the contrary, I am afraid of damaging your reputation, so I refuse to be your apprentice. Oh. Chen Xin asked, what do you mean? The little girl scratched her head embarrassedly, you are a famous Sword Douluo, and I just want to eat, drink and have fun, and I am not very willing to practice. If I become your apprentice, I am afraid that my personality will damage your reputation in the future. And I feel that you are quite strict, I am a little scared. Xin Ya lowered her head as she spoke. In fact, there is another reason why she did not become a disciple, that is, she has a heaven-defying comprehension system, and there is nothing she cannot comprehend, so why does she need to become a disciple to learn? After Xin Ya finished speaking, she felt silence around her. Suddenly, Chen Xin's laughter broke the silence. He put his big hand on the little girl's head and said, you are lazy but quite honest. Forget it, since you don't want to, I won't force you. It's up to you. Ning Fengji on the side said to Xin Ya, Xue Ya, although you didn't worship Uncle Jian as your master, the door of the 7 treasures glazed tile sect will always be open to you. Xin Ya said happily, thank you Uncle Ning for taking care of you. Then, the 5 people walked into the meeting hall. Ning Fengji sat at the top of the sect leader's position, and the others sat on both sides. The servant served tea. After taking a sip of tea, Xin Ya suddenly thought of Lu Erlong. She looked at Ning Fengji, Uncle Ning, I will write a letter later. Can your sect help me send it to the Blue Tyrant Academy in Qindo City? Of course. Ning Fengji said to Ning Tian, a direct disciple of the Ning family standing in the hall, Ning Tian, you are responsible for taking care of Miss Xin Ya these days. Yes, sect master. Ning Tian answered with cupped hands, then looked at the little girl, Miss Xin Ya, are you tired? I'll take you to the guest room to rest. Xin Ya was indeed a little tired. She stood up and said to Ning Fengji, Uncle Ning, I'm going to rest first. Ning Fengji nodded, okay, I'll call you later for dinner, or you can have it in the room. If you have anything to say to Ning Tian, he will try his best to help you. Thank you Uncle Ning. After saying this, Xin Ya turned around and followed Ning Tian out of the meeting hall. After the little girl left, Ning Fengji smiled and asked Xiang Qinshin, Uncle Jian, do you have any regrets about not being able to accept Xue Ya as your apprentice? Chen Xin smiled helplessly, a little bit, but she is a little girl with her own ideas, not bad. Yes. Ning Fengji agreed, then looked at her daughter and advised, Rongrong, stop targeting Xue Ya. She is actually quite tolerant of you. It will be good for you to make more friends with her. I don't. Ning Rongrong stood up angrily, Dad, you are partial. After saying that, the eldest lady turned around and ran away. Ning Fengji shook his head helplessly and said, Uncle Jian, Uncle Gu, and Rongrong have been spoiled by you too. I can't teach them anymore. Gu Rong said, is she spoiled? We don't think it's good for our little princess to be like this. Chen Xin took a sip of tea and agreed, I think so too. Ning Fengji sighed in his heart, with these 2 Douluo masters here, how on earth should he teach this daughter? Other side, Ning Tian took Xue Ya towards the guest room. Xue Ya asked, "Brother Ning, do you know where your stored value bank in Qibao City is?" Ning Tian nodded, "I will take you there tomorrow." "Okay, thank you." Xin Ya smiled slightly, revealing two small paired dimples. Ning Tian looked at the little girl's cute appearance and was stunned for a moment. Chapter 49, You Stinky Guangling, You Big Bad Guy. Get out of my mind. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Ning Tian took Xin Ya to the door of the guest room, pushed the door open. "Miss Xin Ya, this is your room. Please come in." Ning Tian said as he stretched out his hand to make a gesture of invitation. The little girl walked in and looked around. The room is large, and the tables, chairs, and bed cabinets are all made of fine Wanwali wood. It is indeed a wealthy sect. Xin Ya remembered that when she lived in Guangling Hall, although it was not Wanwali wood, it was still fine rosewood, but she felt that the color of red sandalwood was too dark, and it would be more beautiful if the color of Wanwali was brighter. Seeing that the little girl was silent, Ning Tian thought she was dissatisfied with this room and asked, "If you don't like this room, I can change it to another one for you." Xin Ya immediately smiled and waved, "No, no, I quite like it. Brother Ning, please wait for me a moment. I'm writing a letter now. Please ask someone to send it out for me later." "Okay." Ning Tian nodded, "Of course." After saying this, he walked to the bookcase, opened the door, took out the pen and paper and put them on the table. "Thanks." Xin Ya walked over and sat down, picking up her pen and writing. Ning Tian watched from the side and found that the words she wrote were very special. The fonts were all round, which was a bit cute. "Your font is so special," that the little girl smiled and said, "This font is called Yuan typeface." "Young Yuan body?" Ning Tian frowned, "I've never heard of it." Xin Ya smiled and didn't intend to explain too much. She recalled that when she first started learning to write in elementary school, she liked this font very much when she saw it, so she spent a lot of time learning it. Fortunately, the text here on Douluo Continent is the same as that on Aqua Blue Star. Otherwise, I don't know what to do if I don't understand the language. After writing, Xin Ya folded the letter and handed it to Ning Tian. "Excuse me, Brother Ning, please send this letter to Lanba Academy in Tiando City to Dean Lu Erlong." "Okay, I'll send someone to deliver it later." Ning Tian took the letter and asked, "When do you want to go to the stored value bank tomorrow?" Xin Ya thought for a while and said, "Let's go after breakfast." "Good." Ning Tian said, "Then I will come find you after my morning exercise." The little girl nodded, hesitated, and said, "Brother Ning, you don't have to call me you, I'm younger than you." Ning Tian said, "You are a distinguished guest of our sect master, so naturally you should be addressed with respect, regardless of your age." Xue Ya smiled and said, "Let's call you, you. It sounds weird to me, as if I am very old." Ning Tian smiled, nodded and said, "Okay." He asked again, "As for food, do you have any taboos? Or anything you like to eat?" The little girl bit her fingers and thought while saying, "As for taboos, I don't like bitter melon and fatty pork. I can eat a little spicy food, but everything else is fine." Ning Tian looked at her biting her fingers and felt that this little girl was much cuter than their eldest lady. "I'll take care of the kitchen. If there's nothing else, I'll leave first without disturbing you." After saying this, Ning Tian turned around and left the room. After that, Xin Ya lay down on the soft bed and touched the quilt with her little hands. "This Yenyu quilt is so comfortable. The goosefeather blanket in Guangling's guest room is not that comfortable. It would be better to ask him to change it next time I have the chance." After the little girl subconsciously muttered to herself, she suddenly realized what she had just said. Xin Ya sat up suddenly, hugged her little head, and cried out, "Oh my God! How could I think of that arrogant and weird guy," and even said next time, let him change the quilt. "Next time, you'll be a jerk. Change it to a mouse. Stinky Guangling, the big bad guy. Get out of this lady's mind." After the little girl finished cursing, she lay back on the bed and closed her eyes. Maybe because she was really tired, she fell asleep quickly. it wasn't until dinner time that Ning Tianlai woke her up before going to the dining room to have dinner with Ning Fengji and the other three. After dinner, Xin Ya still felt sleepy, so she went back to her room and took a shower before lying on the bed again. The next day, Xin Ya got up early in the morning, washed herself, and did yoga for an hour. She has no interest in practicing, but she is very active and diligent in doing yoga or aerobics. After doing yoga, Xin Ya changed her clothes and left the room, heading towards the dining room. In the dining room, Ning Fengji, Chen Xian and Gu Rong were having breakfast. Xin Ya walked into the dining room and politely shouted to the three of them, "Uncle Ning, Senior Sword Douluo, Senior Bone Douluo, good morning." Ning Fengji smiled and said, "Come over and have breakfast." Xin Ya nodded, walked to the dining table and sat down, and the servants brought her bowls and chopsticks. Ning Fengji said, "I didn't expect you to get up so early. You are much more active than Rongrong. She hasn't woken up yet." Xin Ya said calmly while peeling the eggs, "I'm used to it." But while she spoke calmly, she was roaring in her heart. When she was at Shuilan Star, she had to clock in every day, and she would be deducted for every second she was late. Who the hell dares to sleep in? Naturally, Ning Fengji didn't know the little girl's inner roar. He also praised, "It's better to go to bed early and get up early. It's not like Rongrong who goes to bed late and gets up late, who is still lazy in cultivation." Alas! Chen Xian couldn't stand listening anymore and said, "Fengji, how can you be such a father? You always talk about your daughter's faults." Gu Rong also echoed, "Children need to be encouraged more. We can't always criticize her like you do." Ning Fengji sighed helplessly as he looked at the two of them protecting their calves. Xin Ya couldn't help laughing as she watched from the side. Looking at the three of them, she instantly felt as if her grandparents doted on their grandson back on Water Blue Star and spoiled the child to the point of being lawless. But parents can't even try to educate their children, but instead get scolded by their grandparents. Chen Xian and Gu Rong are the grandparents, and it is difficult for Ning Fengji, a father, to educate his daughter Ning Rongrong well. After a period of silence, Ning Fengji said to Xin Ya, "Xiaoya, let Ning Tian take you out for a walk later." "Okay, I really want to go out for a walk." Xin Ya replied. After breakfast, Ning Tian just finished his morning exercise and came to the dining room. Ning Tian asked, "Miss Xin Ya, do you want to go by carriage? Or walk? Is it far?" Xien Ya asked, "If it's not far, let's walk. It's only half an hour's walk away." "Then let's walk." After making the decision, the two left the sect. Half an hour later, Xin Ya followed Ning Tian to the Qibao City branch of Tiando Empire Stored Value Bank. The two pushed the door open and walked in. Standing in the lobby, Xin Ya felt that this stored value bank was quite similar to the bank in Shualangsing. At this time, a beautiful waiter wearing a beautiful cheongsam walked up to the two of them and asked enthusiastically, "Guests, do you need any help?" Xien Ya said, "I sold something at the Tiando City auction house yesterday. I would like to check whether the amount of gold soul coins has been received." "Okay." The beautiful service staff asked, "Miss, do you have your stored value card?" Xin Ya nodded, "Bring it." With a wave of her hand, a stored value card appeared in her hand, and she handed the card to the beautiful service staff. The beautiful service staff took the card and said, "Miss, please sit over there and wait for a moment. I will check it for you right away." Xien Ya nodded. Afterwards, she and Ning Tian walked to the sofa next to them and sat down to wait. The beautiful service staff took the card, turned around, walked to a nearby instrument, and started to operate it. At this time, the door of the stored value bank lobby was pushed open again. Seeing the person coming, Ning Tian immediately stood up and shouted respectfully, "I've met Mississippi. Babies, today the third round of PK in Shushu is over. At this time, I am a little nervous. I don't know if I can advance and pass the level. Babies, bless Shushu and let the story of my daughter Xin Ya and baby Guangling continue. Thank you for your support." Chapter 50. I have heard of arranged marriages, but I have never heard of arranged friendships. You are listening at novelfull.audio. At this time, Xien Ya, who was sitting on the sofa with her head propped up and her eyes closed, knew that Ning Rongrong had come. but she ignored her. The beautiful waiter who was working on the other side saw that it was the eldest daughter of the Seven Treasures glazed tiles sect who had come, and her eyes lit up instantly. The beautiful waiter was about to go over to greet her, but Ning Rongrong said, "I'm here to look for someone. You just continue to do your job." "Yes, Miss Ning." The beautiful waiter continued to check the information in the card for Xue Qinghe. Ning Rongrong saw Xue Qinghe sitting on the sofa, dozing with her head propped up by her hands. She walked over and sat down, asking, "Don't you have time to go fishing later?" Xue Qinghe opened her eyes, looked up at the eldest daughter of the Ning family, and asked in disbelief, "Are you talking to me?" "Nonsense." Ning Rongrong glanced at her unhappily. "If I don't tell you, should I tell Ning Tian?" Xue Qinghe raised her eyebrows. "I think the possibility of you going fishing with Ning Tian is higher than the possibility of going with me. You were cursing at me yesterday, and today you asked me to go fishing with you. Are you so split?" Ning Rongrong frowned. "Split? What do you mean?" Xue Qinghe explained. "It means that you slept with me last night, and now you have turned from an enemy to a friend." "Are you changing so quickly?" Ning Rongrong snorted. "Dad asked me to make more friends with you, saying that it would be good for me." Xue Qinghe was speechless. "I have heard of arranged marriages, but I have never heard of arranged friendships." At this time, the beautiful service staff of the Stored Value Bank had checked and confirmed, and walked towards Xue Qinghe. Xue Qinghe stood up and asked, "Has it arrived? Is it 720,000? "It has arrived, the amount is fine." The beautiful service staff smiled and handed the stored value card back to the customer. "Thank you." The little girl was very happy and took the card immediately. "Oh, this lady's salted fish life is really about to begin." After being happy, Xue Qinghe looked at Ning Rongrong behind her. She felt that this little witch must have something else, and she didn't believe that Ning Rongrong was looking for her just to fish. And she saw that Ning Rongrong looked at Ning Tian from time to time when she spoke just now, with a slight evasive look. Ning Rongrong seemed to have something to say to her, but because Ning Tian was there, it was inconvenient to say it. "In this case, I will accompany this young lady to see what she wants to do." Xue Qinghe asked, "Ms. Ning, are you sure you want to go fishing with me?" Ning Rongrong nodded, "Sure." "Then let's go." After that, Xue Qinghe walked straight to the door. Ning Rongrong and Ning Tian followed closely behind. The Ning family carriage was already waiting at the door of the bank. When Ning Tian was doing morning exercises in the morning, Ning Rongrong asked him where Xue Qinghe was going later. Knowing that she was coming to the bank, Ning Rongrong took the carriage directly after breakfast. The three of them got on the carriage. The coachman whipped the horse whip, and the carriage went to the outskirts of Qibao City. Half an hour later, the carriage arrived at the gate of a large courtyard, and the three got off. Xue Qinghe looked up at the gate of the courtyard, which was of an antique style. There was a plaque hanging above the gate, with 3 large characters written in brush: Xingliuan. Xingliuan. Life is short, enjoy it while you can. What a good name. Xue Qinghe felt that this name was very suitable for her lifestyle of eating, drinking and having fun in Douluo Continent. Ning Rongrong heard what Xue Qinghe said, glanced at her and said, "I didn't expect you to have some knowledge." Xue Qinghe rolled her eyes. She felt that Ning Rongrong was despising her. At this time, a man walked out of the gate of the other courtyard. Seeing Ning Rongrong, the man immediately stepped forward and said, "Miss Ning, you finally come to play after so long." As he said that, he looked at the girl next to Ning Rongrong. "Who is this lady?" Ning Rongrong said, "She is my friend, Xue Qinghe." The man immediately introduced himself enthusiastically. "Hello, Miss Xue, I am the manager of Xingliuan. My surname is Hong. Please come in, ladies." Manager Hong made a gesture of invitation. Xue Qinghe and Ning Rongrong walked straight into the other courtyard. Manager Hong followed Xue Qinghe and asked, "Is this the first time Miss Xue comes to our Xingliuan?" Xue Qinghe nodded. Manager Hong introduced, "Our Xingliuan is a villa built by the Tiendo royal family in the suburbs, which is specially for the nobles to have fun." Xue Qinghe looked around and asked, "It should cover an area of 1,000 acres, right?" Manager Hong nodded, "Yes, this used to be a large natural landscape. Because it is so beautiful, the royal family took a fancy to it and directly fenced it off to make it into the current large villa." The little girl thought, "Isn't this equivalent to the natural tourist attraction of Shuelangsing?" Manager Hong looked at Ning Rongrong and asked, Miss Ning, are you still here to fish? Ning Rongrong nodded and said to Ning Tian behind her, you and Manager Hong go get the fishing tools. Yes, Mississippi. After speaking, Ning Tian followed Manager Hong and left. After seeing Ning Tian leave, Xin Ya said to Ning Rongrong, congratulations, you finally got Ning Tian away. Tell me, what do you want to see me about? Ning Rongrong walked towards the fishing place and said, you are not stupid. You know I came to see you on purpose. Xin Ya's mouth twitched and she couldn't help but complained, Miss Ning, you spoke to me in a bad tone from the moment you saw me yesterday. Today you suddenly showed me your kindness and asked me to go fishing. Even ghosts know you have a ghost, okay? Ning Rongrong said, my tone yesterday, was it really unfriendly? What do you think? Xin Ya glanced at her unhappily. Ning Rongrong suddenly stopped, lowered her head, and said, I'm really not a little witch, I just. That's enough. Xin Ya interrupted her and said, I know you're not a bad person, but you've been pampered since you were a child, so you've developed a more spoiled and willful personality. But, I can understand you, but it doesn't mean I can accept it. Ning Rongrong looked up at her, then I apologize to you. Xin Ya interrupted her again and said, you don't need to apologize. Everyone can say the 3 words I'm sorry, but not everyone can do it well after saying it. So, I won't listen to what you say, I only look at what you do. If you're really not a little witch, change the spoiled and willful nature of the young lady in you. Not everyone is free, so I have to let you go. After listening to Xin Ya's words, Ning Rongrong lowered her head again. At this time, the two walked to the vicinity of a large lake. Xin Ya saw the beautiful scenery of mountains and rivers, and her mood instantly became much better. Not far away, there was a pavilion, and the two walked in and sat down. Ning Rongrong still lowered her head. Xin Ya looked at her, changed the subject, and asked, what do you want to talk to me about? If you don't tell me, Ning Tian will be back soon. Ning Rongrong immediately came back to her senses when she heard it, looked at Xin Ya and said, let me tell you, my father will write to the prince in 2 days to tell him that you are here. Xin Ya smiled and said, of course I know this. Ning Rongrong immediately asked, then are you going to leave? Can we go together? You want to run away from home? Xin Ya raised her eyebrows and looked at Miss Ning. Shu was exposed on the flash sale, so there will be no update tomorrow during the day, and it will be updated after 10 o'clock in the evening. Thank you for your support, love. Chapter 51, Change Place and Continue to be a Salted Fish. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Hearing Xin Ya say she ran away from home, Ning Rongrong thought for a moment, I guess so. Why did you run away from home? Xin Ya asked. Miss Ning sighed, Dad thinks I'm always causing trouble at home and not learning well. Forget it, I'll just leave. Xin Ya looked at her with amusement and asked, since you know everything, why don't you change it? Ning Rongrong said confidently, I'm changing now. Running away from home is a change. Xin Ya raised her eyebrows. This means that this way of changing is a bit fresh and unconventional. Ning Rongrong stood up and said firmly, I want to prove to my father that I can do it. If I stay in the sect, I will never be able to prove it. Didn't you say something at the auction that day? If there is no 7 treasure glazed sect, my identity as a young lady is nothing. It's really heartbreaking, but it does make sense. After she finished speaking, she lowered her head. Ning Rongrong has indeed been hit by Xin Ya from all sides these 2 days. From language, talent, and personality, Xin Ya destroyed her proud self-esteem everywhere. At the Tiendo auction house, Xin Ya's words were heartbreaking but reasonable. Later, when she returned to their Chibaoyoli sect, she saw Xin Ya's martial soul. Ning Rongrong thought of herself. Originally, 2 yellow and 1 purple were the best soul ring configuration, but she saw Xin Ya's 3 10,000-year soul rings. In addition, she was only level 27, while she was level 41. When they were the same age, the difference of 14 levels in soul power made Miss Ning's first auxiliary martial soul in the Chibaoyoli Tower continent, which she was proud of since childhood, instantly abused into slag. Although auxiliary soul masters are different from weapon soul masters and beast soul masters, talent and ability are not divided by any school. The above is fine, after all, talent and ability are innate, and she can't compare, but the last straw that broke the camel's back was what happened after Ning Fengji talked about Ning Rongrong at dinner last night. At that time, Miss Ning was sobbing on her way back to her room, and she accidentally heard what Ning Tian and several other disciples said. Disciple A, the new little sister is very cute. Ning Tian, not only cute, but also has a good personality. Disciple B, how does she compare with our eldest lady? Ning Tian, needless to say, that little sister must have a good personality. Disciple C, who can compare with our eldest lady? They all have good personalities. Our eldest lady was spoiled by the two elders. Disciple D, it's good that the sect and the elders are protecting the eldest lady now, but in the future, she is an auxiliary martial spirit. With such a personality, who would be willing to make friends with her and protect her? Disciple A, I heard that the little sister's talent she is very strong. Everyone in the front yard saw it just now. Even Elder Chen Xian wants to accept her as a disciple. Disciple D, but I heard that our eldest lady doesn't like that little sister very much and even scolds her. Disciple C, yes, she is such a talented person, and our sect has an auxiliary martial spirit. It's okay for the eldest lady not to befriend her, but to offend her. Disciple B, alas our arrogant and willful eldest lady, I don't know what to say to her. After listening to the series of conversations between several disciples, Ning Rongrong's self-esteem could no longer be held. She ran back to her room and cried for 3 or 4 hours. After she was tired of crying, she finally regained her sanity and began to know what she had done wrong all along. Now she wants to change, she wants to prove herself, so today she took the initiative to find Xin Ya. But Miss Ning is not very good at expressing herself, but when she went fishing with Ning Fengji since she was a child, her father told her that fishing can not only calm her mind, but also allow her to talk about her thoughts with the people she fishes with, so, she decided to bring Xin Ya here and talk to her while fishing. Ning Rongrong not only wanted to apologize, but also wanted to make friends with Xin Ya. And she knew that Xin Ya would not stay in Qibao Liuli's sect for long, and she wanted to go with her. At this time, Xin Ya heard Ning Rongrong say that she wanted to prove herself, and also mentioned what she said at the auction that day. So you listened to what I said that day. I thought you couldn't listen to it with your proud personality. Ning Rongrong raised her eyes and smiled bitterly. How could you not listen to such heartbreaking words? It's just that I was not convinced at the moment, but now I am convinced. As she said that, she looked at Xin Ya, smiled happily, and felt relieved. Xin Ya stood up and walked to the lake, picked up the small stones on the ground, and asked while throwing stones, since you are going to run away from home, where are you going? To Soto City. I heard that there is a school called Shrek Academy there that is recruiting new students. Ning Rongrong walked over, picked up stones, and threw stones with her. Shrek. Yes, Xin Ya just remembered now that Ning Rongrong was indeed the Shrek who ran away from home. Ning Rongrong looked at her. Do you have any place you want to go? If not, do you want to go with me? Xin Ya threw away the stone in her hand and began to think. She really didn't have any place she wanted to go, so it was okay to go. Anyway, she was reborn in Douluo Continent, and now she has nothing to do with either side. Since she has been to the spirit hall, she might as well go to Shrek, just treat it as a check-in at a photo shooting location. Now that we have 720,000 yuan, for the little girl, it is just a change of place to continue to be assaulted. Fish. Idle time is also idle, go and have some fun. Moreover, Xin Ya also thought that the place over at Shrek Academy was remote, and Guangling might not be able to find her if she hid there. After a long time, if Guangling still can't be found, he will probably give up, right? Thinking that he would give up, Xin Ya suddenly felt a little panicked for some reason, and Guangling also appeared in her mind. After thinking about it, the little girl reacted, what a meow. Why do I think of that Sundra again? She suddenly waved her hands in the air. Go, go, you arrogant monster, get out of my mind. Ning Rongrong saw Xin Ya's inexplicable movements and strange words. She frowned and asked, Xue Ya, what are you doing? Who is that Sundra? Why are you getting out? Xin Ya retracted her movements in embarrassment. No. It's nothing. I suddenly went crazy. You don't need to pay attention to me. As soon as she finished speaking, she changed the subject and said, as for going to Shrek, when do you plan to go? Ning Rongrong asked, whenever you want to leave, we can leave at any time. Xin Ya thought for a while, the day after tomorrow, then. Since we are going on a long journey, you should make some preparations tomorrow. Have you seen the route? Ning Rongrong whispered, I don't understand the route yet. Xin Ya rolled her eyes and complained, Miss Ning, you dared to run away from home without even looking at the most important route? You are really smart. Ning Rongrong lowered his head, wringing his fingers, and said, I thought I'd ask you first and discuss it with you. Besides, it's my first time traveling far away and I really don't understand much. Babies, I received the notification of promotion to the 3rd round today, and I finally cleared this book. Thank you for your rewards and votes during this time, so I will add another chapter, thank you.